Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends and neighbors, what do you say? Good morning. Great to see you this morning. This is The Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., bringing you up to date on all the news of the day, whether it's happening here in our nation's capital, around the country, around the globe. Coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV. Events in the nation's capital. Hi, everybody. It's Bill Press. This year marks the 10th anniversary of doing the Bill Press Show every day, covering the news of the day with the nation's top newsmakers, either on the line or in our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Not only that, I go to the White House briefings every day to get answers to the top questions of the day. Bottom line, if it's happening in Washington, D.C., either at the White House or the Capitol, we are all over it. Every day, we welcome to our studio political leaders and reporters and labor leaders and newsmakers to help us understand the issues of the day. You know, we started out as a radio show only, but over the years, we have branched out to all forms of the new media. So today, we're not just a radio show. We are podcasting, streaming audio, streaming video, and we are simulcast live on Free Speech TV nationwide, reaching out to 40 million households on Free Speech TV, in addition to hundreds of thousands on local radio stations and online.
AFGE is so proud to be associated with this show and looks forward to being working with Bill and this show for a long time.
Bill Press is the right man at the right time with the right message.
And thanks to the Bill Press Show, we get our message out to thousands and thousands of people every day. Thank you, Bill Press.
The Teamsters are a proud partner with Bill Press on his show, telling the truth about what's going on with working families. Tune in.
Yes, it's been a fun and exciting 10 years so far for the Bill Press Show. We're looking forward to many more with all of you, broadcasting live every morning from the nation's capital.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, what do you say? It's a big Monday, October 19. Hope you enjoyed the weekend. Boy, unless you were in Chicago. Come on, Cubs got to get it together here. Back to Chicago and get going against the Mets. But other than that, I hope you had a good weekend and are ready to dive into the big news of the day. Can you believe it? Donald Trump has gone where no Democrat feared to tread. He has actually been blaming George W. Bush for September 11, saying, after all, it happened on his watch. Jeb Bush has rushed to defend his brother. Here they are debating back and forth over September 11. It's just the latest twist in this clown show among Republicans for 2016. Meanwhile, Vice President Joe Biden keeping the speculation alive over the weekend. Nobody, he says, is going to count him out. He is still seriously thinking about running for president, and he even called Harold Scheitberger, the powerful president of the Firefighters Union, to discuss with him his plans for how he could actually win the nomination and wrest it away from Hillary Clinton. President Obama, meanwhile, says he will not take sides if there is a Hillary versus Joe battle. The Interior Department has canceled its plans to allow drilling up in the Arctic. Good for them, but of course they only did so after Shell Oil last week canceled its plans because they discovered there just wasn't enough oil up there to make it worthwhile. And Hillary Clinton is taking a big gamble, I think the correct one. She is making gun safety, gun control one of the number one issues of her campaign. No other presidential candidate has done so. Lots to talk about. Get ready to give us a call at 866-55-PRESS and join the conversation. Good to have you with us.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine.
Virginia Tech.
Tucson.
Aurora.
Fort Hood. Oak Creek.
Newtown.
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 How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, we may think it's too late for Joe, but Joe says he's still thinking about it. What do you say? Good to see you, people. On a Monday, October 19, hello, and welcome. Welcome to the Bill Press Show. You're part of it. Here on your local progressive talk radio station. Great to see you out there in Radioland across America. And here on Free Speech TV and TawkrTV. Great to be looking at you on the Dish Network or DirecTV or our video stream, TawkrTV, all across America and all around the globe. Yep, hope you had a good weekend. I think everybody had a good weekend. It was a little chilly. We're
cooled off.
Definitely into early fall here in Washington, D.C. I think everybody had a great weekend except all of our Cub fans all across the land, especially in Chicago. Man, I was so bummed when they lost the first game, double bummed now that they lost the second. But wait till we get back to Chicago, to Wrigley Field.
That's right. Bring
it home, baby.
They're in a hole, that's for sure.
Yeah. Down 2, but come on, they've come back from worse than that. So what is how many, is this 5 or 7?
You got to win, it's best of 7.
Best of 7,
yeah.
Right. So they win the next 3.
They got to win they got to win the next 4.
Well, they win the next 3, then they could even lose another one, and then...
I don't think they want to lose any more.
I don't either.
Cub fan does not want to see another loss.
They could be like the Red Sox in 2004, down 3-0 to the Yankees in the
that's true.
championship series.
Yep.
That's true.
Right. That's what we're wishing for.
Stranger things have happened.
That's it. So do they play today or they have a day off? Travel day?
I think they have a travel day. I believe they have a travel day. Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay. Go Cubbies. Go Cubbies. Yeah. Anyhow. How about it? Great to see you. Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson. Hello, guys.
Hey.
Yep, good morning.
With Ray Rogers there on the phones, ready to take your calls. Remember the number, 866-55-PRESS. You can always send us your comments as well on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. And I didn't even, is Cyprian here today? I didn't see him. Oh, yeah, the lights are on.
Yeah,
Cameras
exactly.
are on. Yeah.
We made it.
Here. Yeah, we couldn't do without him, so we're glad to have Cyprian on board. And a big shout out to Clinton Yates for filling in as a friend of Bill on Friday. Hope you had a lot of fun with Cyprian. One of the most fun things over the weekend, of course, was Saturday Night Live. They had to do the Democratic debate.
It was a big episode. It was a big episode. They
almost did an hour on the Democratic debate.
It was a lot on the debate.
Yeah. And the highlight of the debate, of course, was Bernie Sanders, who was also the highlight of the real debate. And we'll play you more of Larry David with Bernie Sanders a little bit later. But even Link Chafee and Jim Webb got their time on Saturday Night Live. I don't know who the actor is that plays Lincoln Chafee, but he was about as goofy as Link Chafee.
He was really goofy.
As Link Chafee is in person.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone. I'm Lincoln Chafee. I used to be senator. That was fun. And now I'm here. This is fun, too.
Yeah. It's like saying, can you believe I'm on this stage? Yeah. I don't belong on this stage, but
Pretty
here
much.
I am. Isn't this fun? Ooh, yes, right. And then Jim Webb, who did show up with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah. Alec Baldwin playing Jim Webb.
And Jim Webb, who all he did in the real debate was complain about time, not getting enough time, and then not using his time, or not saying anything when he did have time. And also he wanted everybody to know how tough he was.
Hello, I'm Jim Webb, and it's about damn time I get to talk. What has it been, 1,000 years? Here's the deal. I fought in Vietnam, and I'm not going to brag about how much ass I kicked, but let's just say I kicked every single ass.
Oh, they had him down. Yeah, they really did. It was good. It was a lot of fun, and we got a lot of fun today, too, with reporters coming in from all over the place. National Journal's Scott Bland will join us, as he always does, plus reporters from Politico, Real Clear Politics, and Huffington Post. And, of course, again, all of you give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. You won't believe what Donald Trump is up to now. But first,
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. We go to London, where London will be a little bit quieter for the next couple of months because Big Ben is going silent. It needs to undergo some massive repairs that are fairly urgent, by the way. It's going to cost as much as $61.7 million, and they're going to have to shut it down. So the famous bong, bong, bong of Big Ben will go silent. They said that it should take...
For how long?
It's going to take a couple of months. They don't specify how long because it's not something that they had exactly planned for. They said that the gears inside of Big Ben have become so dilapidated, they sort of went through one of the inspections and saw that it was a major problem. So they're shutting it down.
I mean, like, how old is it?
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, it's about time we got a little bit of a facelift.
I don't really know, but it's like, yeah.
It's up there.
Right.
It's way up there. You know, everything that you put on Facebook is scrutinized, categorized. They look at every move that you make on Facebook. Facebook does. Mm-hmm. So, shouldn't come as a surprise that they put out a statement saying that last year on Facebook, 800,000 Americans came out as LGBT on Facebook.
On Facebook?
On Facebook. Now, of course, they probably had already come out in their real life to people around them, but when they wanted to go public and make it known, 800,000 people came out of the closet on Facebook last year alone.
On coming out day?
That's a good point. It was just over the course of the whole year is what they looked at.
Yeah.
But
I wonder what the average number of likes per one of those posts was.
That's a very good observation.
150 plus, I bet.
I'm sure that they have that data, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
They've got data for everything else. And on Thursday, the Center for Disease Control put out a brand new study taking a look at how much companies lose due to excessive drinking. Now, they're not talking about excessive drinking on the job. They're talking about people who come in hungover, or come in late because they had a late night, right? And they estimate that we are losing $259 billion annually. $249 billion annually. They say that this loss stems from all kinds of problems that are caused by binge drinking, and they categorize that as 5 drinks for men, 4 drinks for women. So it's called impaired productivity and absenteeism is what they rack it up to. So,
you been tracking that, Bill, over here?
No, but I'm just thinking 5 drinks per guy for binge drinking. Man, there is no way I could handle 5 drinks.
No?
Never in my life I think that I have 5 drinks. Good Lord. I mean, that's binge drinking. How about it?
There you go.
All right. Speaking of binge drinking, Donald Trump must have been on one, by the way. I got to tell you, lately, you thought he had calmed down. Not at all. But first, you got to give the Donald credit for this. He can push his weight around and doesn't hesitate to do so. And the latest and you know, he wins more battles than he loses. I don't know. He would never admit to losing any battle, but he can't win them all. But he wins more than he loses for sure. And the latest big one he won is with CNBC. They are hosting the next Republican debate, which, by the way, happens to be why they chose, I don't know. It's in Boulder, Colorado. Now, I love Boulder, Colorado, and we're out there in Boulder, Colorado, thanks to all of our good affiliate in Denver. But Boulder, Colorado is about as liberal as you can get, right? There's a very funny story in this morning's New York Times about how the people of Boulder plan to welcome the Republicans to Boulder.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
this is big hippie town, right, up in the mountains of Colorado.
Yeah.
You know, University of Colorado's there. It's known for, you know, like Buddha bars and Buddha cafes and yoga. They do yoga like everywhere, right? And so the Republicans, they're going to be
that'll be fun.
Misfits in that town, right? At any rate, at that debate, CNBC had said they were going to have no opening statements, no closing statements, and it was going to be 3 hours long. And Donald Trump said, "Screw that! I'm not showing up."
Good for him.
And a couple of other candidates said, "We're not coming either." But it was Donald Trump who said, "No, Fine, you can have it without me. CNBC knew they'd have nobody watching if Donald Trump wasn't there.
Exactly.
And by the way, he was right. There should be an opening statement. It doesn't have to be 5 minutes long, but just like CNN did.
Thinking what, 3 minutes at the CNN thing?
Oh, no. It wasn't
3-minute
3
opening?
minutes. No, I think it was a minute. Maybe two. Maybe.
I think the Democratic debate was the longest intro, right? The 2-minute thing?
Was it 2 minutes? Yeah, it might have been two. But which, by the way, I would have given them a minute. And they would have all gone over a little bit, but except for Lincoln Chafee. It's fun! So there should be an opening statement and a closing statement. The closing statements were like 45 seconds, a minute, or whatever. Just to sum up, you get a look at them. And they deserve that one chance to look into the camera and say, I'm the most perfect person that has ever walked on the planet. Please vote for me and go to my website and send me money, or whatever they want to say, right? And also, 3 hours is too damn long. I'm sorry. Too long. I said that about the first CNN debate, and I got roasted by some of my friends at CNN. But everybody else has said it too. And Donald Trump, on Greta Van Susteren the other night, talked about why he thought the CNBC debate was a big mistake.
Now they want to make this an extra hour, and I think it's unfair to the viewers because it's too much to watch, and they're doing it because they want to make more money.
Right, exactly. And Trump said he could stand there for 5 hours, but it's not fair to the viewers. It's all about money. That's why CNN did it. And so CNBC caved in, and there will be opening statements, there'll be closing statements, and it's going to be 2 hours long. Good for Donald Trump. Now, then Donald Trump really showed how crazy he is. He's sitting down with Bloomberg and he will attack anybody. He has attacked every one of the candidates for almost any reason under the sun. And the latest, he has gone now where not even a Democrat, no Democrat would have dared gone, basically accusing George W. Bush of being asleep at the switch and causing September 11. Here he is on Bloomberg.
When you talk about George Bush, I mean, say what you want. The World Trade Center came down during his time. If you look
Hold
at
on,
Sandy Hook,
you can't blame George Bush for that.
He was president, okay? Don't blame him or don't blame him, but he was president. The World Trade Center came down during his reign.
Happened on his watch, is what Donald Trump is saying. And it did.
Yeah.
It did. But
that is a fact.
That is a fact, right. And so everybody said, oh, you can't say that. Oh, my God, that just goes over the line. You know Trump's not going to back down. He went on Fox News Sunday yesterday morning with Chris Wallace and doubles down.
Now, am I trying to blame him? I'm not blaming anybody. But the World Trade Center came down. So when he said we were safe, that's not safe. We lost 3,000 people. It was one of the greatest, probably the greatest catastrophe ever in this country.
I'm not blaming him. But it came down. It came down on his watch. And, of course, Jeb Bush can't resist. Why was Trump doing that? He was doing that to bait Jeb Bush. And Jeb takes the bait.
Sure did.
Look, my brother responded to a crisis, and he did it as you would hope a president would do. He united the country, he organized our country, and he kept us safe. And there's no denying that. The great majority of Americans believe that, and I don't know why he keeps bringing this up.
Whoa, here we go. So my question to you is it fair for Donald Trump? Come on, I'm going to say blame. He says I'm not blaming him, but he is blaming him. He's saying it happened on his watch. And Donald Trump also went on to say that he would have prevented the attack because he's so tough on immigration. He would never have let them in the country, or he would have thrown them out of the country. So he's blaming George W. Bush. Is it fair to blame George Bush for September 11? 866-55-PRESS. And let us remember, before we take a break, that number one, it did happen on George W. Bush's watch. Number two, on August the 5th or 6th of 2001, George Bush was given a memo saying, the headline of the memo, the briefing that day was, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically Al-Qaeda prepared to attack the United States, use airplanes to attack the United States.
Yeah.
And
spelled out the 9/11 plan.
Spelled out the 9/11 plan. George Bush did nothing about it. He went fishing for the rest of the day in his little bass pond. And thirdly, we know, Richard Clark tells us, that for that whole year, up until September 11th, he had been trying to get Condi Rice and George W. Bush to convene a meeting to talk about the threat of al-Qaeda to the United States. I've been with Richard Clark when he has told audiences that point. And the Bush and Condi Rice refused. They didn't have one single meeting.
Yeah.
And Richard Clark kept saying, National Security Advisor, hey, they're coming after us. We got to talk about this. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? They didn't convene one single meeting. So, given that, is Donald Trump right in blaming George W. Bush for September 11? The Bill Press Show on this Monday, October 19. Give us a call. We'll be right back. Let's talk about it.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To not look the other way. It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, Free Speech TV world, it's Mama and the Mooks here at the Stephanie Miller Show.
Hello. Good morning.
You know, Seinfeld was about nothing. I think the Stephanie Miller Show is about everything.
A little bit everything.
Yeah, a little
It's
bit.
kind of everything like thrown into a blender and we hit frappe.
Right.
With wine poured in.
Right. Senators, fart jokes, politics, pop culture, entertainment.
Drinking.
Drinking, random stray thoughts. It's what all the hip kids are talking about.
Yep.
We have the smartest, funniest people in the country on this show, do we not?
We absolutely do.
Right?
And our sexy liberal army of callers call in every day to tell us all about it.
There you go. And some right-wingers that Travis particularly enjoys talking to.
They're my favorites.
Okay. You can watch us every weekday from 9 to noon Eastern or 6 to 9 Pacific, which is really early. But we still, we try to, we're still pulling in people like Rob Reiner, Lily Tomlin, Frangela, you name it. You can only get it here at the Stephanie Miller Show. Mama, Mooks, fancy celebrities.
And everything.
And fart jokes.
Free Speech TV.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 26 minutes after the hour, Donald Trump saying, yep, September 11, blame George W. Bush. Or at least it happened on his watch. He did not keep us safe. He said, how can you say you kept us safe when the worst terrorist attack in our history happened on his watch? Peter?
We are on Twitter at BP Show. At BP Show, Robbie weighs in, says Donald Trump is awful, but it only takes an ability to read a calendar and a second grade reading level to know that George W. Bush did not keep us safe. You can chime in at BP Show on Twitter.
And had he had meetings about Al-Qaeda, had he followed Richard Clarke's advice, had he taken that, by the way, that's the daily briefing. You hear me say every day when the president gets a daily briefing. That's the director of the CIA, or his representative, who briefs the president on the greatest threats happening at that time. Had George W. Bush taken that threat seriously, maybe we would have tracked down these guys, found out what they were up to, since there were reports that they were in this country and taking flying lessons and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that would never have happened. Dave, out in Detroit. What do you say, Dave?
Yes, I agree. And don't kid yourself, not for a minute. The Republicans would do the same. Just look at the culpability they want to tag Hillary Clinton with Benghazi. All's fair in love and war. And if you want to play Jumpin' Johnny when somebody's hitting you in the snoot, you're going to lose.
Yeah, excellent point, Dave. No, it is. If it had been a Democratic president in there, right? It would have been, they would have absolutely. And just like they're doing to Hillary on Benghazi. And also, Dave, that's an excellent point. Thanks so much for the call. Also, remember, right after 9/11, everybody said, we're never going to politicize this. We all agree. Republicans had never have. And then, right, in 2004, what did they do? They had their convention in New York near 9/11, and they made that the political football of the year, they used that against every single Democrat, starting with John Kerry. So now, you know what? Maybe they get what they deserve.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I am your toilet, so how do you do? I take away your wee and the odd number 2. For a quiet moment, I'll always be there, bringing you troubles. You don't even have to care. Oh, think about the things you put me through. Things you put me through that have been through you. Stuff from your body I'll happily take. Liquid or solid, whatever you make. When you think of all the things that I do, it's time to say thanks to your Lou. If I wasn't there anymore, you can only imagine disaster. I am a lifesaver, and that is not a lie. Where I don't exist, thousands die. So next time you have to do a poo or a wee, thank the sanitary saints that you have me. When you think of all the things that I do, it's time to say thanks to your Lou. La 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 la. It's time to say thank you to your Lou.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
Oh boy, 33 minutes after the hour. Here we go. Monday, October 19. How about it? We're here in our studio on Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C., waiting for Congress to come back in town. They'll be trailing in later today and tomorrow to maybe elect a new speaker in the House of Representatives. If the rumors are this morning that Paul Ryan is open to running. Everything is sort of waiting for Ryan to see what he's going to do. And we're brought to you today by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. We all live better because of their good work, the good men and women of the Teamsters Union under President Jim Hoffa. Check out their website at teamster.org. Talking right now about Donald Trump, who is saying, hey, you talk about people responsible, things that happen on their watch. How about George W. Bush? Can't deny it. September 11 happened on his watch, so don't go around. Jeb Bush can't go around saying his brother kept us safe. William down in Baton Rouge with a comment. Hello, William. Good morning.
Hey, how about those Tigers, by the way?
Oh, yeah, man.
That was a hell of a game.
Oh, yeah. They did it up. I hate to agree with Trump on anything, Bill, but I think that if George W. Bush didn't call it, he didn't do anything to prevent it.
He didn't. I mean, I think you got to say that, right? You blame Al-Qaeda, number one, blame them, number one, but still, Bush just looked the other way. He ignored all the warnings about Al-Qaeda. And
I think that vice president told the Air Force to stand down 9 or 10 times. Don't scramble jets over the United States.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I forget how that actually came down. But that was after the fact, of course. It's before the fact. We do know, as I said before, we do know that he got that briefing on August 6th, did nothing about it. We do know that he had been warned over and over again by Richard Clark begging him to have a meeting in the secure room, what they call it downstairs at the White House, Situation Room, on Al-Qaeda, so that Richard Clark could brief them on what Al-Qaeda was doing here in the United States. Nothing happened.
I saw there was some writing.
Did nothing. Thanks, William, for the call.
There was some writing over the weekend about, there's this. I saw one person could refer to it as a conspiracy theory that George W. Bush had been told about a plan. And it's like, it's not a conspiracy theory.
No.
He was told, he was briefed that this is something that could happen.
Yep.
And, I mean, he chose to not take it seriously. I'm not saying that the blame of 9/11 lays solely at the feet of George W. Bush, but the signs were there, and he ignored them.
The other thing, you got to admit that, again, like William, I hate to agree on with Donald Trump on anything.
I know.
But the guy is no dummy. He is a brilliant strategist. The only reason he went there is because, again, he was poking the bear. He wanted Jeb Bush to respond. He wanted Jeb Bush to remind everybody that I am George W.'s baby brother. And so he finds a way to get Jeb out there defending his brother, reminding people that he's a Bush, and basically undermining him.
Yeah.
Undermining a candidacy, by the way, which hasn't gone anywhere anyhow.
No.
Right?
No, he's a disaster.
But he's got more money than anybody else, Jeb Bush. More money than Hillary Clinton, even. Incredible amount of money. So Jeb Bush is not going away. And Donald Trump knows that he may not be high up in the polls, but some of the others will just disappear because of lack of funding. Jeb Bush will not. So Donald Trump knows he's still a real threat, and he went out there after him. Yeah.
It's remarkable.
Brilliant move, actually, on his part. And appreciate your calls on that. So the fun stuff over the weekend really was Saturday Night Live with their take on the debate. We played you a couple of clips earlier of Jim Webb and Lincoln Chafee making their opening statements. But the star of the show was Bernie Sanders, and none other than Larry David playing Bernie Sanders, and he had him down. He looked like him. He had the gestures. It was, and the accent too.
Well, it's so funny because in the weeks leading up to Saturday night, without anybody knowing what was going to happen, I'd seen a couple of pieces and people referring to the fact that Bernie Sanders is Larry David. I mean, if you've seen Curb Your Enthusiasm, or you know of the character from Seinfeld, you know that there are some Larry David qualities to Bernie Sanders.
So there he is. So Bernie gives us an opening statement, and then he says right away to the guy whoever played Anderson Cooper, okay, listen, I want to start right on. I want to go right to the top. I want to take it right to the 10. and so Anderson says, okay, go. And here he goes.
And now, if you don't mind, I'm going to dial it right up to a 10.
Go right ahead.
We're doomed. We need a revolution. Millions of people on the streets. And we got to do something. And we got to do it now.
All right, here we go. We're doomed. Oh, God, it's so funny. And, of course, what Bernie's known for is he wants to break up the banks. And here is why.
Not a fan of the banks. They trample on the middle class. They control Washington. And why do they chain all their pens to the desks? Who's trying to steal a pen from a bank? It makes no sense. That's why you gotta break up the banks into little pieces and then flush the pieces down the toilet so you can never put the banks back together. Then you just make the bankers pay for college for everyone, and America's fixed. Hey!
Perfect. I know. I love that line about why do they put little chains on all their pens?
That is true. Yeah, that is such a Larry David line, but at the same time, I could totally hear Bernie saying something like that.
Yeah. Oh no, I know, it is so funny. My favorite, of course, is Bernie says that he is he's not a fancy guy. He is a down to earth guy, and here's this is how he proves it.
I don't have a super PAC. I don't even have a backpack. I carry my stuff around loose in my arms like a professor, between classes. I own one pair of underwear. That's it. Some of these billionaires, they got 3-4 pairs. And I don't have a dryer. I have to put my clothes on the radiator. So who do you want as president? One of these Washington insiders? Or a guy who has one pair of clean underwear that he dries on a radiator?
Oh, man. That's so good.
One pair of underwear.
Dried out of my radiator.
Yeah. Wash it out every night. Dry it on my radiator. Yeah. I like this other guy. So those rich guys, Donald Trump, he's got 3 or 4 pair.
Oh,
right?
Man.
Oh, so anyhow, reportedly, Bernie got to see this, or somebody played it for him, and he did admit that he enjoyed Larry David's take on it. But it shows that went viral, as they say.
Oh yeah.
Oh, over the weekend, the underwear. So reporters caught up with Bernie. I think he was out in Iowa over the weekend. If he wasn't, he should have been in Iowa over the weekend. I believe he was. And he actually said that he has more underwear than that, right?
Yes, last week I bought my second pair of underwear. That's a joke. All right. Please don't write it down. That was a joke. Joke. Yes. I have an ample supply of underwear.
I got plenty of underwear.
That was a joke.
That was a joke. Like, no one knows when Bernie's joking. It's so rare.
I know.
It's like seeing Sasquatch, a Bernie Sanders joke.
No, what is really funny about that is that he tells it. It would have been just funny if he said it.
Right.
But then
Everyone knows it's a joke.
But then I know.
Hang on, wait. I just need to clarify. I should clarify that's a joke.
That's a Oh, man, I'm telling you. Right.
Don't write that down.
Don't write that down. And nobody asked him whether boxers or briefs.
Yeah, right.
No.
Yeah.
I love it. That was a joke. Don't write that down. Don't write
that down.
Oh,
Plenty
man.
clean underwear.
Oh, yeah. It was, it was Saturday Night Live. Coming back.
Yeah.
Coming back. Of course, you must admit, they had a lot of ammunition for this.
Plenty of it.
Yeah.
Plenty of it.
Yeah. And, you know, the woman, whoever she is who plays Hillary.
Kate McKinnon?
Kate McKinnon.
Yeah.
You know, she does a good job.
She
does, but totally eclipsed
Yes,
by Larry
absolutely.
David.
I was going to say that. Yeah. She usually does a great Hillary Clinton, and all I could think was, please just let me see more of Larry David as Bernie Sanders every time they put the camera on her.
Indeed, yeah. That was a great moment. Yeah, go online if you didn't catch it live and watch it. It's worth it. A lot of laughs. Scott Blanton from the National Journal standing by when we come back here for our Monday Hit with Scott.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts. Stop the wrecks.
How I've been affected by gun violence over the years is through deaths of friends and family members and associates.
When I was 5 years old, I was held at gunpoint in a home invasion.
I've gone to the juvenile detention centers and I've met dozens of young kids, babies really, who have been affected by gun violence.
Directly, I've lost a few friends, but I think why this touches my heart is having children of my own.
You know, I've been at parties where, you know, I had just left the party and, you know, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, you know, I heard that, you know, somebody got shot and didn't make it.
There are a lot of people benefiting off of our pain, and it's time we do something.
I'm here to unload my investment because I think that it's important that we start kind of seeing where our money is going.
It's time to go to your financial advisor and demand that there are no gun investments in your 401k.
Even if you don't have investments, you can still help spread the word.
This is something everyone can do.
So if you push your people that have 401ks, it might be your grandma, it might be your cousin, this effort can make a big impact.
I'm unloading for my loved ones that I lost.
I'm unloading for my 18-year-old self. I'm unloading my 401k for the future of my children.
I'm unloading.
I'm unloading
for my family and their future.
I'm unloading so that my daughter can grow up in a safe, loving world.
Unload and join the movement.
Use hashtag I'm unloading to pledge your support for gun-free investing.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Help keep all the presidential candidates straight with your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
13 minutes before the top of the hour. We have a hard time keeping them all straight. That's why we depend on good friends like Scott Bland, who's editor-in-chief of the National Journal Hotline, and joins us on our news line. Again, on this Monday, October 19. Hello, Scott. Good to have you with us again.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Who would have thought that Donald Trump would go so far as to blame George W. Bush for September 11? He says, I'm not blaming him, but it happened on his watch, right? What's going on here, Scott? Is this an effective tactic?
Sure. Well, we've seen the seeds of this planted over the last few months. And I think, it's turning back to something that is obviously a very, very touchy subject for the Bushes and for Jeb Bush and his campaign in particular, because there is a disconnect between this idea that, George W. Bush kept us safe, but, September 11, 2001 did happen during the Bush administration. And it's certainly, I think, fair to look at that and say, it's like, well, intelligence failures that led to September 11th started long before George W. Bush took office, but the kind of culminating effect, this is something Republicans have been very, very concerned about and touchy about for a long time. And the fact that it's now coming from within their own party is certainly a twist. But Donald Trump has been laying the groundwork for this for a long time over the course of this campaign, and now it's really kind of bursting forward after he'd had a pretty quiet few weeks.
Yeah, I know. He's certainly found a way to liven it up again. No, you're right. There has sort of been this unwritten agreement, right, that that nobody will cast any blame on September 11 because that's like unfair, right? We all suffered, and so therefore we're not going to politicize it. But it did happen on his watch, and there were warnings. Remember the famous briefing on August the 6th, right, which he did not respond to. And Richard Clark, as I mentioned earlier, I've heard Richard Clark say many times that he told them Al-Qaeda is a real threat to the United States. We have to have a meeting and talk about Al-Qaeda, and they never had a meeting to talk about Al-Qaeda before September 11. So, but nobody else would go there except Donald Trump.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the history of this was the sort of thing that was just building slowly for a very long time. It's not the sort of thing that just all of a sudden started to come together in the summer of 2001. And there were intelligence failures going on for a very long time, but now Donald Trump is kind of laying those at the Bush family's feet, and Jeb Bush in particular, and that may well be unfair, but it's also frankly unfair for Jeb Bush to say my brother kept us safe, and there's this dissonance going on now between between
right.
that.
Yeah, and and Jeb Bush took the bait. Now Jeb Bush is out there defending his brother, which is certainly not where he necessarily wants to be. On the other side, we thought last week after the Democratic debate that Hillary did so well that Joe Biden would just realize his time had come and gone. There are signs over the weekend that Biden is not willing to throw in the towel, right?
Yes, we saw kind of some Biden advisors brushing back this notion coming from the Clinton campaign that he has to decide right away, saying that he won't be bullied. Fresh signs again that he'll be deciding imminently. Although we've been reading about that for
we've been saying that for a long time,
now.
Right?
Exactly.
But, they leaked the fact that he talked to Harold Schaitberger, the president of the firefighters, one of our most powerful and best labor leaders, and laid out for him, here's my strategy for winning, Harold. What do you think? I mean, so Joe himself is still stirring it up.
Oh, sure. And we know that he has been. This isn't the first labor leader he's talked to. This isn't the first kind of major progressive leader we've talked to, I don't remember exactly when it was that it was leaking out that Biden was meeting with Elizabeth Warren and Richard Trumka.
Yeah, about a month ago, right?
Yeah. So you know, this is kind of the continuation of what we've been seeing.
I have to ask you about Hillary Clinton. She has made, I don't remember any other presidential candidate doing this, but, you know, people have taken stands like for gun safety or gun control or, as part of my platform for a ban on assault weapons. But Hillary Clinton is making gun control like one of her top issues, really taking on the NRA. Is it time for that? American people ready for that? Or is this still political third rail?
Well, I think there are a couple things about that. First of all, it's definitely time for that within the Democratic Party. You know,
right.
The anti-gun control wing of the Democratic Party has pretty much evaporated, which was not the case when Bill Clinton ran for president.
Right.
And so it's just, again, very interesting to look at how things have changed over the course of the time the Clintons have been in national politics. The second thing is that, yes, I think there is kind of a broader political coalition outside the Democratic Party for gun control at this point. But I think the really interesting thing is that, as we saw during the debate, gun control is one of the areas where Clinton can get to Bernie Sanders' left.
Yep.
And she's totally trying to exploit that and kind of really leaning into this.
Yeah. And then, you know, of course, Republicans are counting on that boomeranging once we get to the general election. But I'm not sure it will. I think I agree with you. I think the American people are ready for something along those lines. All right, Scott, always good to check in with you and get caught up to date. We'll talk to you again next week. Have a good one.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to it.
Scott Bland, Editor-in-Chief, National Journal, nationaljournal.com.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
We came here to Foster City, where we're going to watch UC Berkeley, a University of California SWAT team, do a hostage rescue scenario.
Should I put the water in there now?
Yeah, go ahead. This is like some kind of chemical agent?
Yeah. Copy, we're ready. I'm gonna get shot. I already know it, dude. Bean's yelling at me.
Gentlemen, we have a chemical. We need to pull our person out. Get these guys out of here. Pull them out. Pull them out. Pull them out. Put your hands on your face. Put your hands on your face. Keep him covered.
Your head up. He's got a shotgun back there.
That's all right. Keep his hands up where we can.
Hands on your face.
Hands on your face.
On your face.
On your face.
Someone cover me. I got a holster up, bro.
Okay, pull him around the corner. Pick him up. Get him out of the building. Quickly. We've got this. Let's get that guy out of there. You, come towards us. Keep your hands on your face. Turn around. Face away from us. Back towards us. Quickly. Back up towards me. Quickly, quickly, quickly. Pull him out of the room.
We're exfilling, Billy.
Yes, we are exfilling.
It was actually around 92, 94. There was an attack on the chancellor at his residence, which is on campus.
Okay.
And we realized at the time that we didn't have any resources to deal with that kind of threat when it took place.
Okay.
So, and I think about 15 years before, they had some kind of semblance of a SWAT team. So they regenerated the idea of
I see.
activating a SWAT team.
And then since then, you guys have kind of branched out to doing what kind of stuff?
Well, since then, we train for everything. We train for every eventuality, barricaded subjects. Like I said, most of what we do is high-risk warrants.
And it's something like it could be like a mugging kind of thing, just like on the street.
Depends.
Or
I mean,
like
a mugging, but if it's armed, particularly.
Right, an armed mugging. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then obviously we're looking for training for anything else.
Yeah.
That we might be faced with, and that's what's great about Urban Shield is we couldn't duplicate this on our own.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Top of the next hour. Is it too late for Joe? He doesn't think so. Peter.
October 27th. Mark it on your calendar. Stay up late.
I've got it.
Found out that will be the night that Stephen Colbert will welcome Hillary Clinton for the Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
Wow.
You know, she did Saturday Night Live just a couple of weeks ago where she played the bartender Val. And she hasn't done the Late Show yet, so she's going to join that. The Late Show, by the way, already, it's only been on the air for a couple of weeks, has already had Joe Biden, Michelle Obama, former President Bill Clinton, Jeb Bush, Donald Trump, Ted Cruz. So it's becoming the place to go for political.
Boy, I'll say, this is the new Johnny Carson.
Looking like it, yeah.
How about that? So what is it, October?
October 27th. We'll see Hillary there.
27. I don't think I have anything planned that night.
I hope not.
All right, very good. Yes, we'll come back and talk about whether or not the window has closed for Vice President Joe Biden.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I'm a Piston fan. Their slogan was, "We come to work." That's what Detroit about. That's why they used it. It's a team thing. They won 2 championships, a team. There was no star. No mayor can come in here and be a star. It's a team thing. No governors can come in here and think you can do it by yourself. It's a team thing. You got communities. They got ideas too. The only thing wrong with Detroit, people had lost hope here. Residents, city workers, so much corruption. They lose hope. But I grew up here. I love this city. I think it can come back. I've been working for the city 24 and a half years. Within the last 10 years, we took 4 pay cuts, and then an additional 10% wage cut. I've lost a home.
When you take all of the decisions out of the city of Detroit, all of us, then what do you have? Exactly what we got, a lot of problems. Every time the city seems to fall into a problem, it's always on the backs of us workers.
You wake up out of a dead sleep and you jump behind the wheel and take off driving and try to get everybody there safe, not knowing really what you're pulling up to. I'm not eligible for Social Security, so the pension is my sole salary at this point.
We've been in business here 39 years. We've seen a lot of changes in Detroit. The area was a lot of industry, a lot of city workers. It's getting very tough for the city workers. It's getting tough for us as a business people.
Response times are increasing because of the closing of companies, which takes your insurance rate through the roof. So all the things that affect us affect the citizens.
I worked for the city in different capacities for 29 years. I feel like an old jacket. They use me up and they throw me away. In my condition, nobody's gonna hire me. I'm 68 years old. Half the times, I can't get my blood pressure medicine. It's either feeding myself, blood pressure, or paying bills.
$754. By the time they take all the deductions for I have my car insurance, my house insurance, and my health insurance taken out. So the time they take all that, I'll get about $300 after they take all that out. I don't understand it. I can't see how the governor is allowing this to happen and what they're doing and they want to blame it all on the seniors. Not only the seniors, but the city workers. And we worked hard. I know I worked hard.
I've been in Detroit since 1946. I was 14 years old when I came in. I don't live large at all. I wish I could. I don't know when the last time I've been shopping. I only get $1,100, and I'm 81 years old, and I need every penny that I can get and that I do get. And I'm very, very upset about the idea of them taking away my pensions that I worked 30 years for. I think it's terrible that they talk about Detroit like they do, because Detroit has been very good to me.
I have a lot of city workers coming in with their uniforms on, Detroit Water Department, Police Department, Fire Department. I get a lot of people, the Border Patrol come in. So if I lose that customer base, I'm going to be in a position where I might have to close down. If they take away their pensions, if they start cutting jobs, it's going to cut into a large percentage of not only our business, but other businesses that are in the city of Detroit. We're here. We've been here for 26 years. We're still trying to do business in the city.
Detroiters are survivors. They tough. They adapt. But only can do so much when your politicians ahead of you and we're not on the same team. We're not going to let Detroit be erased, bulldozed, or where. We're going to fight to the bitter end. Detroit going to survive.
Just this month, my bill was like $138.
Even at one phone call a week cost me $40 to $50 every month.
I am living on a fixed income of SSI, so this is really a great hardship. Families are being punished when they incarcerate their children, they incarcerate the whole family.
In 2011, the Media Action Grassroots Network, Working Narratives, and Prison Legal News founded the Campaign for Prison Phone Justice, an effort to call on the FCC to address the cost of interstate phone calls. The campaign mobilized prisoners to send hundreds of letters. Advocates and families filled out postcards, met with elected officials, and signed petitions. Partnerships were formed across the political spectrum and with groups in the criminal justice, civil rights, and public interest community. The film distribution company Participant Media and director Ava DuVernay joined the fight through a social action campaign tied to the release of the feature film Middle of Nowhere. In an effort to push the FCC to act, the campaign hosted a historic rally outside of the Federal Communications Commission where for the first time, families of prisoners, elected officials, civil rights and faith leaders came together to call for an end to predatory phone rates.
We're all held captive when predatory phone companies gouge our families.
My son has been incarcerated now for over 10 years, and my husband estimates that in the time we spent over $25,000 on prison phone calls.
My hero's not yours, you probably arrested them. Your schools probably neglected them. They spawn thoughts, you probably infected them. Feed us what you feed us, you can lay us next to them. FBI call it major crimes. Babies making babies cry.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Bernie clarifies. Bernie Sanders says he owns more than one pair of underwear. We're all relieved to hear that.
I just bought a new pair last week.
That's right. He now owns 2 pairs.
I got a couple of pairs now.
So
we're fine.
So one pair's drying on the radiator while he's wearing the other pair.
That's right.
I hope you saw Saturday Night Live. Otherwise, you don't know what we're talking about. Hey, hello, everybody. Here we go. Yes, wake up. It's Monday. No longer the weekend. It's Monday. Monday, October 19. How about it? We're here with you to bring you up to date on all the news of the day, wherever it's happening. We are there on top of it. bringing you the news of the day and looking forward to hearing what you think about what's going on. It's the Bill Press Show, our 3-hour town hall of the day. Starting the day as progressive and as left-leaning as we can do it here on your local progressive talk radio station. Thank you for joining us again. Don't forget, you got those 2 great radio apps, TuneIn and iHeartRadio. Put them on your electronic device. You can follow us on the radio wherever you happen to be. Also, glad to be with you on Free Speech TV and on our own video stream, TawkrTV, youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKRTV. Can't escape us on the radio, can't escape us on television, so don't even try.
That's right.
Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Here with me, Team Press, Peter Egburn and Jamie Benson.
Hello, Bill.
Good morning.
Ray Rogers.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Yeah. Everything good.
Yeah.
Have a good weekend?
Yes, indeed. Went out apple picking over the weekend with the kids.
Apple picking.
Yeah,
all
man.
right. Yeah. It's fun. Those farms where you can pick strawberries or apples or peaches or kind of whatever. It's good.
We have a whole system.
They're not necessarily cheaper, but it's more fun.
It is more fun. We have a whole system because my youngest, Magnus, he spots all the good apples way up high.
Oh, yeah.
And then I put him on my shoulders, and he goes and he just gets all those good apples that nobody else can reach.
Mm-hmm.
That's our system. And it works pretty well.
Cheating.
It's a little cheating. But, well, I mean, look, someone's going to get those apples, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Strategic.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'd just go to waste.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
All right. Okay. And we say another good morning and a big thank you to Cyprian Bolding, our videographer there, keeping us looking good on Free Speech TV, as good as we possibly can on Free Speech TV and TawkrTV. Well, this is the week Congress comes back to town after their extended Columbus Day break. And the big event this week is the hearing on Thursday with former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton coming in front of the Select Committee on Benghazi. This is a committee that Kevin McCarthy told us all is just a big sham. It is a political witch hunt. It was designed solely for the purpose of hurting Hillary Clinton, trying to destroy her candidacy, drive her poll numbers down. Kevin McCarthy told us that. So have several other Republican members of Congress. The chairman of the committee, Trey Gowdy, is still trying to defend it. And he had a couple of harsh words for any Republicans who don't think this committee is doing its job. Here he is yesterday.
I have told my own Republican colleagues and friends, shut up talking about things that you don't know anything about. And unless you're on the committee, you have no idea what we've done, why we've done it, and what new facts we have found. We have found new facts, John, that have absolutely nothing to do with her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Yeah. No. Kevin McCarthy said it all. Her poll numbers were real high. Then we formed a select committee and beat her up. And what has happened? Her poll numbers have gone down. That's what this committee is all about. And if Trey Gowdy had any self-respect, he would pull the plug on the committee and resign as chairman of this whole farce. Ken Vogel from Politico will be joining us a little bit later. He's the expert on money in politics. Rebecca Berg from Real Clear Politics and Jen Bendery from Huffington Post joining us in the next hour. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Peter,
just a couple of other stories making news. Okay, so you want to have a couple of drinks, but you don't want to have a hangover, right? We always talk about hangover remedies and how you fight hangovers and what you do to not get hungover. Well,
the best thing is not to drink so much.
Well, of course, there is that. There is that. But for people who don't have that type of self-control, there might be a new miracle spirit. It's called Vitamin Vodka. It's been developed in Australia. It's loaded with anti-hangover vitamins. It's filled with vitamins B, C, and K, and it helps keep you from getting dehydrated, which is why we get hungover, is because we're so dehydrated. They say you could have 2 shots of it at a time, and you get all the vitamins that you need to help fight a hangover. So they're saying it works.
Yeah.
They're saying it works. You can try it out.
It's a pill, like a vitamin pill?
It's in the vodka. If you drink the vodka, it's all inside the vodka. So as you drink, you fight your hangover. Here's the only catch. It is $1,635 per bottle.
What?
Oh, I see.
Come on.
Okay.
So how much will you pay to not have a hangover?
No, not that much.
I don't think I'm
Absolutely
gonna pay
not.
that. Don't think I'm
And does it come in other flavors? If that much money, it should come in. You should get the bourbon, the tequila, the vodka, everything in one package.
I would imagine that's coming next. If they can figure it out for the vodka, they can figure it out for everything else, right? El Chapo. El Chapo is on the ropes, Bill. Mexican officials are closing in on the escaped, the fugitive drug kingpin. He broke out of jail a couple of months ago, and it appears as though he has suffered injuries while trying to escape Mexican authorities over the weekend. They did start to close in on him, and they said that he did get away, but we do know that he was injured. This is according to Mexican authorities. We will stay on top of this story. They say he's in northeast Mexico. Stay tuned.
And he's got a bounty on Trump.
Did
you know that?
They're closing in on him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? They've given a $5 million reward for information leading. For that.
Wow.
It's a matter of time.
Right.
I think. How about this? If you've watched
break out again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just send him back to jail and find a way out. How about this story? If you've watched Fox News at all over the past couple of years, you will no doubt have seen the face of Wayne Simmons. Wayne Simmons is one of their terrorism experts that they've had every time the terrorist story revolving around terrorism comes up, they throw him on TV. He is an, quote, outside paramilitary special operations officer with the CIA from 1973 to 2000. Except it turns out that was a lie. That was all made up. He made up a big chunk of his 27-year career as a CIA officer. Not only that, he was arrested last week after a grand jury indicted him in relation to alleged misconduct, including major fraud and making false statements to the government. So they report.
Yes, right.
You decide.
Yeah. Let's just say he is not the only person on Fox News that you can't believe a word of what he says.
That's true.
Right?
That is
not the only phony on false
credibility issues.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Major credibility.
Yes, indeed. We talked last week, particularly after the Democratic debate, that one factor as a result of that debate is that any grounds for Vice President Joe Biden to jump in and into the 2016 race and run for president had kind of disappeared. Right? Wrong. At least in the Biden camp. Wrong. They made it known over the weekend that Joe still is serious about considering, and my question to you is it too late for Joe to get in? Has his window closed? It came up at the news conference with down at the White House in the East Room with the president and and President Obama and the president of Korea. And one reporter asked the president, "Okay, so let's say Joe gets in. Are you going to take sides between Joe and Hillary?"
I think that the vice president, like every other candidate, makes their own decisions about these issues, and they'll have to figure out whether it makes sense for them.
Yeah, that was not an answer. Joe's got to make up his own mind, and then the president said, he votes like everybody else, and he respects the sanctity of the ballot. Mm-hmm. And the vice president had only one public event this weekend. He received a big award at a dinner in New York. Didn't talk about his plans, but for those of us who follow this, he did talk about his son, Beau, again. And we all know that Beau is the one who said, "Dad, you've got, if I'm gone or whatever, if I'm still here or if I'm gone, you have to run for president." So when you mention Beau, I mean, for those in the Biden world, it's a dog whistle for I'm running for president.
It is our faith that urges us to rise each and every morning, and no matter how bleak things look, put one foot in front of the other. As my son Bo used to say,
here it is.
Just keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Keep moving forward. As my son Bo used to say, Dad, run. You've got to run. So what do you think about this? 866-55-PRESS. Remember that the vice president originally said last spring, yeah, I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I like Hillary. We're good friends, but, I may want to do it too. And but I've got time. We had played those clips so often on the show where he said last spring out in Iowa and wherever, yeah, I got time and I'll decide by this summer. Well, then the summer came and the summer is gone and Joe still hasn't decided. And during all of that time, you have heard me say over and over again, I've written columns about it, Joe, run, Joe, run. I think I encourage him to run for at least three reasons. One, because I think it's good for the party. That's why I'm so glad there are 5 candidates, well, 6 if you count Lawrence Lessing. No coronation. There's a good, healthy debate. Bernie Sanders has given Hillary the run of her life. And I thought it would be good for Joe to jump in because the more the merrier, the more the better in terms of debate for the party, I believe. Secondly, I think Joe deserves it. He deserves it because he brings more experience and more expertise on so many different subjects and issues to the table. He's always been a great fighter for the middle class, great supporter of women's rights and rights of LGBT rights and minorities, African Americans, Latinos, middle class. I mean, that's who he is. And secondly, I think he'd be a great president. So I encourage him to run. But then, and the whole premise of his running was that the party looked a little weak, particularly Hillary didn't look as strong as people thought she was going to be. You need somebody to come in who's going to carry the flag, somebody who is really strong, somebody who is scandal-free. And there he is. That would be Joe. And then the Democratic debate happened. And that first debate, Bernie was good, and Hillary was good, and Hillary was so good, and Bernie was so good. It looked like, I guess we don't need Joe after all. And this is already end of October, and he still hasn't made up his mind. And I'm starting to believe now that the whole premise, the whole opening, the whole window for Vice President Joe Biden to run has come and gone. The train, I'm afraid, Joe, has left the station, which is what Senator Barbara Boxer said over the weekend, good friend of Joe's. By the way, she has endorsed Hillary Clinton. So you take it, you have to, that's a fact. But still, looking at the scene, here's her take.
I don't see that we're lacking anything in the field. You know what I'm saying? I think the field is a good field, and I don't see that there's a space. Again, it's up to Joe.
It's up to him.
It's up to Joe.
But is there still a space for him? Is there still an opening? Can he legitimately make the case now? Other than saying, I want to be president, and I've got such a big ego, I know I'd be a great president, therefore I'm running because I know I'm so good. But is there a case that he can make now where the party needs me? That was always the premise. I'm stepping in to save the party and to hold on to the White House. Is there an opening still for Joe?
What's the argument? What's the argument for Joe Biden to run at this point? I'd love to hear it.
I say, sadly, I think, again, the train has left the station, and he will just have to settle for being one of our best vice presidents ever.
Yeah.
Which is still not bad. 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it here on Monday, October 19.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
When I started learning about nutrition, about which, by the way, much less is known than you might think, I learned that what mattered most about one's health was not necessarily the nutrients, good or bad, that you were consuming or staying away from, or even the calorie counts. But what predicted a healthy diet more than anything else is the fact that it was being cooked by a human being and not a corporation. Corporations cook very differently than people do. They use vast amounts of salt, fat, and sugar, much more than you would ever use in your own cooking. And the reason they do that is those are three incredibly attractive and incredibly cheap ingredients. And when they're layered properly, as in a chip or pastries and forms of junk food, they're incredibly addictive. They really press our buttons. They activate our dopamine network, our cravings. And in fact, people in the industry, they don't talk about addiction in the food industry, even though they traffic in addiction. They talk about craveability. It's the same thing. And snackability is another term they use. It's a lovely word. And then the last point about corporate cooking that's important to understand is they cook different stuff than you do at home. What they're good at, in general, they don't cook that well, but things like chips, they cook incredibly well. And here's a classic food that if you make it yourself, if you've ever made French fries, you have to wash the potatoes, you have to peel the potatoes, you have to slice the potatoes, you have to fry them in a lot of oil, you have to spatter your entire stovetop, you have to clean up, and then you have this pot of oil you have to get rid of. I mean, it's really difficult, and it's a pain. They're wonderful, but it's a pain. And if you make them yourself, you'll only eat them every 6 weeks, 2 months, because it's too much work. But when you let corporations cook for you, it's so simple and so inexpensive, and they're really good, that you will have them twice a day, as many people in America do. So you see the kinds of foods you end up with are these labor-intensive foods and desserts. These special occasion foods become everyday foods when we let industry cook for us. Eat anything you want, just cook it yourself.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC. Or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
We're talking about Joe Biden and whether or not he clearly is still actively considering running. Further proof of that is, remember not so long ago he met with Elizabeth Warren, then he talked with Rich Trumka, the head of the AFL-CIO, over the weekend. It was leaked that he just had a long conversation, actually sat down with Harold Schaitberger, who's one of the top labor leaders in the country today, a great guy, head of the Firefighters Union. He's built that up into a very, very strong union. And he and Joe sat down, and Schaitberger says that Joe laid out for him his whole strategy for how he can win this thing. Gabe Sherman this morning in New York Magazine writes, quote, Biden is running for president. A fact that has been obvious and true for weeks. What's clear is that he is in the race. And USA Today reports that out of 833 individuals who were the biggest money raisers for President Obama in 2008 and 2012, Out of 833 of them, only 76 have signed up for Hillary Clinton.
Whoa.
So the Biden people are saying, you see, there's a lot of people out there who are potential Biden people.
Oh, wow.
That if they weren't with, or if they're not already with Hillary, they could easily be for Joe. So that's what
really interesting.
Yeah. Is it too late for the vice president? Mary is out in Ouray, Colorado. Hi, Mary.
Good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
I got your book, by the way, you sent me. Okay?
Yeah, oh, great. Okay. Enjoy it.
What bothers me is this union thing, because I know Biden is supporting the TPP, and
Yes.
I've done a lot of research into it, and the other thing that bothers me is dear Bernie Sanders has been so pro-union, and they all agree it seems like that TPP could lose a lot of jobs, and I kind of thought the unions were, kind of pro, Bernie because of his strong stance against that TPP. I've been researching it. I've read everything I can, and it just bothers me that the unions who, Bernie has so supported that they could almost kind of like turn their back, on what he is, his views on this. And I love Joe Biden. By the way, my granddaughter in San Francisco State says the kids just love Bernie Sanders out there.
Oh, yeah. No, he's got the young vote for sure.
Certainly
you know what?
that.
You're right, Mary. It'd be interesting to see what Joe Biden tells the unions about the TPP, because where Hillary now is against it, Bernie has been against it all along. And so, of course, it's been Elizabeth Warren. Joe Biden supports it. He's been out there pumping it. He will not break with the president on this. That could be a problem with him for the unions.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power.
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. the American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
How about it? 33 minutes after the hour now on this Monday, October 19. So good to see you today. We are live at our nation's capital, our studio on Capitol Hill, just down the street from the United States Capitol building, where members of Congress are due back late today to pick up their work. We'll see if they get anything done this week. And we're brought to you this morning by the International Association of Machinists. Yes, good men and women of the Machinists Union under President Tom Buffenbarger, sharpening America's edge on the global economy. For more information, go to the website at goiam.org. New York Times reporting this morning that the White House is putting in an order for Boeing for a new Air Force One.
Oh, yeah.
That won't be ready until 2023. It'll take him that long to build that puppy.
Just in time for President Kanye West.
It'll be in, yeah, right. And the good men and women of the Machinists Union will be the ones who build that new Air Force One.
Nice.
Money in politics, there's more of it than ever. And some new numbers out this morning on how the candidates for 2016 are doing. Ken Vogel is all over this for Politico, their money and politics reporter and author of the great new book called Big Money. Hello, Ken.
Hey, great to be with you guys.
Hey, good to thanks for joining us on our newsline this morning. So when I looked at the numbers this morning, we keep hearing about how much money Hillary Clinton has raised, but Jeb Bush has raised more than anybody else, right?
Overall, if you included super PAC,
yes,
that's obviously the key distinction here. What we are looking at and what the most recent round of numbers that came out detail is the amount of money raised by the campaigns themselves. And you see just such a great divide between, particularly on the Republican side, how much money these campaigns are raising in hard dollar, limited contributions from individuals where no matter how rich you are, you can only give $2,700 for the primary. And as a result, the Republican campaigns are raising a whole lot less than their affiliated or technically unaffiliated, but wink, wink, nod, nod, actually affiliated super PACs. And so this is a potential problem for, largely the Republicans, but also Hillary Clinton, that there's only so much that you can do from big donors to the campaigns. And so you have campaigns that rely on and operations that rely disproportionately on big donors, and they max out. They get as much money as they can get from these big donors already in the first couple quarters that we've seen the race really going. Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton have warning signs that suggest that they're close to tapping out their big donor base and really would do well to expand their fundraising from small donors, a la Bernie Sanders, who has a tiny fraction of his money comes from maxed out donors. So he's able to go back to these small donors again and again and again and really create a sustainable revenue stream that so far he and maybe Ben Carson look like the only candidates in the field who have that.
So let's be sure that everybody understands the difference between soft and hard in terms of is what they can spend it for, right? I mean, the soft money or the PAC money cannot be spent for day-to-day expenses. Is that correct?
That is the way that we have traditionally thought about these things. Legally, what it says is that the soft money, the super PAC money that can come in these unlimited chunks of 7 figures, 8 figures. We already seen a New York hedge fund guy give $11 million to the Ted Cruz super PAC. So that type of money seems like and I think that's sort of like the new wrinkle in the presidential politics, the presidential political fundraising this time around, is that every candidate is one of these super PACs and has at least one, if not a handful, of these mega donors who are putting these huge sums into the super PACs. But legally, these super PACs cannot coordinate their spending particularly on advertising. The law is a little vaguer and allows for sort of more flexibility and creative financing when it comes to some of the other expenses. But the big ticket item still political advertising, and the super PACs cannot coordinate political advertising or really any kind of messaging is the broader field that the coordination prohibition seeks to prevent with the campaign.
All right, so this is like what happened with Rick Perry, correct? I mean, he had lots of super PAC money, but he didn't have enough money for gas, right? Basically.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and the same thing with Scott Walker. And so where you see the limit is that, you put it as like the daily functioning of a campaign, and that's not a bad way to think about it. The super PAC cannot cannot get the candidate from point A to point B, can't pay for travel for the candidate, can't pay for speech writing or like advanced stuff. Yeah. But we do see super PACs that are increasingly getting into this space that seems, from a lay perspective, to kind of test at least the spirit of the coordination law. For instance, Carly Fiorina's super PAC, she actually stands out as someone, a candidate who had a relatively low burn rate. That is, that she spent a relatively low percentage of what she brought in. She was actually at the top of the burn rate, at the bottom. She had a 33% burn rate. And one of the reasons why is that the super PAC supporting her is paying to put on her rallies, where they are actually setting up, doing the groundwork that is the traditional work of a campaign to do it. And I talk to folks in that camp, and I say, "How are you able to do this?" It really seems to test the coordination, man. They say, we had our lawyers look at it, with confidence that if anything ever came of it, if there was a complaint, that we would be found to be compliant. However, let's face facts here, there's not going to be a complaint, and even if there was a complaint, the Federal Election Commission would be completely ill-equipped to deal with it because it's mired in partisan gridlock and hasn't dealt with any enforcement action in months and months, if not years.
Yeah, exactly. They know that they've got a paper tiger at best with the FEC, and so they're not worried about that at all. Now, given those distinctions, then let's go back to Jeb and back to Hillary. Jeb has raised more money than any other Republican, any other candidate. Hillary has raised certainly more money than any other Democrat. Are they in danger of running out of hard cash?
Well, at this point, they're not. They have significant cash on hand. Hillary is at the top of the cash on hand. She's got $33 million, most of which she can spend in the primary election, followed by Bernie Sanders with 27 right on her heels. And then there's a steep drop-off, and the Republican with the most cash on hand is Ted Cruz with $14 million. Jeb Bush has $10 million. So you look at those figures and you think, oh, they're doing pretty well, but the burn rates are high, and the amount of money that's being raised from, particularly for Hillary and for Jeb Bush, from maxed-out donors is a significant percentage of what they're raising. And so, there are red flags in there, and it's not too dissimilar from Hillary Clinton's 2008 campaign, when she built this huge infrastructure and was unable to fund it as the campaign went forward, and her maxed-out donors had, maxed out, and that was the low-hanging fruit for her. And she was unable to build a small donor base, certainly not one that could compete with what Barack Obama had. And now we have a similar situation where Bernie Sanders has a huge small donor base, and Hillary Clinton does not. And at a certain point, she's either going to have to find a whole lot more max donors, which is kind of a harder lift, or find enough small donors that they can continue to give her, 10, 20, $50 several times throughout the campaign and create a sustainable revenue stream that she can go back to. I don't think she has that.
I was going to ask you, I do want to ask you about Bernie Sanders and what he has developed in terms of a fundraising base. You've been covering this a long time. Have you ever seen anything like it? I mean, I saw a number this morning, the total $41.5 million he's raised, all from small contributions.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of money that he's raised from donors of $200 or less, at least according to these recent reports, 77%. So that means that these folks can all continue giving exponentially more than that. And that's the thing that really is unique about what he's doing, is that he has shown. I mean, Obama did this too in 2008, but Bernie Sanders has shown an ability already in the campaign to have so many folks who give small sums repeat give, and many have set up recurring donations. Other people just respond almost any time he sends out an email, and he's done a very effective job at sort of capitalizing on the moment in the sort of viral moment in the campaign. During the debate, it was his dismissing of the email questions surrounding Hillary Clinton. He raised $3.2 million off of that email.
Up to 3.2 now. Wow.
It's almost all from small donors. So there's no indication that there are going to be fewer viral moments in the campaign. In fact, there'll probably be more, and he's shown that he's often at the center of them. A, and then B, there's the folks who are giving him this cash can keep on giving, and that should be a feather in his cap and something that really concerns the Clinton folks.
I know we've maybe abused your time, but I do have one final question for you. Ken Vogel from Politico, Politico.com. Hey, Ken, which is about Joe Biden. A lot of people are saying, well, the window is closed. USA Today reports on the money front, that out of 833, like super donors, the people that what they call it, bundled the most money for President Obama when he was running, candidate Obama, only 76 out of 833 have already signed up with Hillary Clinton. So is there enough money out there for Joe Biden to make a run?
I mean, there could be, and there could be from these bundler folks. But as we've seen in the past, as we see this campaign, the small donors are the resource that you really have to tap into to build sort of sustainable campaigns. And Joe Biden is just not. He doesn't excite the base in the same way that Bernie Sanders does. A, and then B, Joe Biden has done this twice before, run for president, and both times his ability to raise money and his ability to build a campaign finance and campaign infrastructure was a major weakness. So I don't see a whole. I mean, sure, he's been vice president now, and there are probably a lot more folks who are in the bundler category, super donors, who might be willing to give him a look, but it'd have to be a whole lot more that gave him a look back in 2008 or when he ran before that, because that was a major weakness, and he really suffered from a lack of a fundraising infrastructure.
Yeah, pretty tough for him. Hey, Ken, so good to check with you. You're really good. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right.
Hey, thank you, Bill. Thanks,
all right.
Peter.
Ken Vogel.
Thanks, bud.
Yes. Money and politics reporter for Politico. He really knows this stuff, man. I got to tell you. We'll be right back.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. While you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
Same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
11 minutes before the top of the hour, Rebecca Berg from Real Clear Politics joins us at the top of the next hour in studio, followed by Jennifer Bendery from the Huffington Post. Well, Donald Trump has broken another rule, you know. Whatever you say about undocumented workers, you don't call them rapists, but Donald Trump does. And whatever you say about George W. Bush, you don't blame him for September 11. No. It's okay for the Republicans to blame Hillary Clinton for Benghazi, but you can't blame George Bush for September 11. That's kind of been an unspoken rule of American politics ever since September 11, when, of course, Republicans insisted, it wasn't his fault, don't go there. And Democrats, for the most part, have gone along. I don't know any Democrat who has said it wouldn't have happened if George W. Bush had been on the job.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has gone there. And it is driving the Republican Party crazy now, particularly Jeb Bush. Donald Trump started it, and he's been planting seeds of this for a while. But he started he really started it publicly, or it broke out in the open, a couple of days ago on Bloomberg when he was giving a little interview, and he surprised even the interviewer by going right to September 11.
When you talk about George Bush, I mean, say what you want. The World Trade Center came down during his time. If you look at Sandy Hook,
you can't blame George Bush for that.
He was president, okay? Don't blame him or don't blame him, but he was president. The World Trade Center came down during his reign.
Yes, indeed.
During his reign.
During his reign. Right away, people said, no, you can't do that. That's like the 11th commandment, or maybe this is the 12th commandment. You know, you can never, nobody's ever done that. Donald Trump, you can't go there. So he goes on Fox News Sunday yesterday morning, and Chris Wallace tries to get him to back down. No, Donald Trump does not back down. He doubles down.
Now, am I trying to blame him? I'm not blaming anybody. But the World Trade Center came down. So when he said we were safe, that's not safe. We lost 3,000 people. It was one of the greatest, probably the greatest catastrophe ever in this country.
Okay. Now, look, you got to admit, first of all, he's onto something. I mean, what he is saying is not crazy. It happened on George Bush's watch. George Bush, that was September 11th. On August 6th, we know George Bush got this briefing from the CIA that said Al-Qaeda operatives are in this country and planning attacks using airplanes. It was in this country, Al-Qaeda using airplanes to conduct terrorist attacks. That's exactly what happened a month and 5 days later. And we also know that Richard Clark, who was he wasn't the national security advisor, but he was the national security coordinator in the White House, had been there under President Clinton. And under President Clinton, they'd been having meetings about Al-Qaeda and threats of Al-Qaeda in this country. And Richard Clark kept saying to Condi Rice, who was national security advisor before she became Secretary of State, and to George W. Bush and to Dick Cheney, we got a problem with Al-Qaeda. We got to meet on this. We got to have I need to brief you on what's gone on. We need to get on top of this. He did that, and he was ignored for 9 months.
Yeah.
Ignored. There was not one single meeting. So, and the other reason Donald Trump did this, of course, is he wanted to get Jeb Bush to defend his brother, which, of course, Jeb Bush was more than happy to do.
Look, my brother responded to a crisis, and he did it as you would hope a president would do. He united the country, he organized our country, and he kept us safe. And there's no denying that. The great majority of Americans believe that, and I don't know why he keeps bringing this up.
And so now the whole world knows that Jeb Bush, if they didn't already know it, they're reminded that Jeb Bush is part of the Bush dynasty, that he is George W.'s little brother, and that September 11 happened under George Bush's watch, as did the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War and all that other mess.
There's a reason that Jeb Bush is running and his logo is just Jeb. Right? It's not Bush 2016. All right, this is why he's going with Jeb.
Is it fair for Donald Trump to raise that issue? Damn straight. 866-55-PRESS, our toll-free number. We'll be right back to tell you what's on the president's schedule today.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
2 hours is just never enough. We're going to need that third hour. You're going to get it today at 5 o'clock Eastern on Free Speech TV. A little delay there. But right away, you can follow the third hour. Join us on TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Anywhere, the planet. You don't have to be outside the United States for our video stream. You have an electronic device. Join us there. Rebecca Berg will be here from the National Journal to talk Politics 2016. And then Jen Bendery from the Huffington Post in studio with us as well. A big third hour coming up, so stay with us on TawkrTV and Free Speech TV.
A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear. We had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
would you like it back?
What do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Hey, big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now, pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat this rat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like a bag?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
This is the Bill Press Show.
Yes, indeed, President Obama, a pretty light schedule today. Has a meeting with some CEOs about climate change. Meets with the Secretary of the Treasury. And then astronomy night at the White House tonight. And the clock kid from Texas is going to be there.
That's right.
Peter, how's FanDuel doing? How did we do this week?
Well, we still have one more game tonight, of course.
Yes.
But the way that we currently stand, Jamie is leading in terms of here on the Bill Press staff. He is in 6th place, so he is just out of the money.
Mm-hmm. And you?
We don't even have to talk about it.
Please.
Let's just talk about the winners.
Mm-hmm.
I am currently I got another game tonight, but I'm currently dead last.
How our listeners and our viewers come through again.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The hardest moments for me is when I'm laying awake in the middle of the night and I'm thinking about all the times I made a pitcher of Kool-Aid with the water, or I boiled a pot of corn or potatoes with the water. Those thoughts just stick with me in the middle of the night, and I feel horrible as a mom that I didn't know that something was wrong, but how could I have known? There's no way I would have known.
The spill at Dan River happened when a drainage pipe that ran underneath an ash basin and dam collapsed, sucking out 6 decades of waste and spewing gunk directly into the river.
My husband and I just kind of looked at each other like, should we be concerned? We live right next to an ash pond, and this was coal ash spilling into the Dan River, and we learned at that point all of the toxins that were included in coal ash.
A situation like Dan River, where there was a catastrophic disaster, gets people's attention, but the fact is that these coal ash pits have been leaking and poisoning people's groundwater and the state's surface waters for decades. Coal ash is the residue left behind after coal is burned in a coal-fired power plant. A large coal-fired power plant can burn 10 million tons of coal a year. When the organic matter in the coal is burned away, what's left behind are these trace minerals, things like arsenic, lead, mercury, selenium, and chromium. And these are highly concentrated. The coal ash can have concentrations of these contaminants that are 10 to 100 times greater than the level in the coals themselves.
Coal ash pond number 1 is right behind my house, literally pretty much in my backyard. We were approached by a neighbor who was wanting to have their well tested, and we decided that maybe we should have ours tested as well. They found hexavalent chromium at 4.5 parts per billion.
So in talking to the residents, we have discovered anecdotal evidence of an extraordinary number of cancers for this fairly small community.
Some of us in the community got together. We started kind of talking about all the cancer that we've seen in some of our family friends in this community. I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of around 70 names. So we had some help from our river keepers putting a map together, and it was a little shocking to see it. You know, I still have a hard time looking at it.
Technically, EPA has not regulated coal ash as a hazardous waste, but it is undeniable that coal ash contains many, many hazardous substances that are hazardous, in fact, to people and the environment. And the only reason they have not been regulated as such is because of intense lobbying efforts by the coal industry and its allies.
A lot of these chemicals are simple elements, but when you find them at the levels that they exist in around coal ash ponds, then you're starting to talk about cancer, brain tumors, you're talking about birth defects, developmental problems, neurotoxicity.
We began to look at legal options, cases that we could bring in court to protect communities and their citizens from these toxic leaking time bombs. In 2002, North Carolina enacted a public financing mechanism for judicial elections. This kept private money out of judicial elections.
The repeal of the public financing program in judicial elections in North Carolina creates a dangerous precedent for all, and it gives corporate polluters and other special interests the opportunity to elect the judges that they want. And this is important for us all. Everyone should care about this, because when you think about the fact that the state and the federal government have basically abdicated their responsibility to regulate these issues, the state courts are the last stopgap.
I think this is no longer a problem that's going to go under the radar. It has been exposed, and I am confident that we will ultimately, with the facts, win out and ensure that we have protected waterways.
And so this is something that we all should care about. If we're worried about the water we drink and the air we breathe, we have to be concerned about money in judicial elections.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Yes, indeed. If you thought the window had closed for Vice President Joe Biden, don't tell Joe. His people say over the weekend he is still actively considering running for president in 2016. Hey, hello, everybody. And then they say he's going to decide yesterday or today. Of course, they've been saying that every day for the last month. Don't know what's going to happen today. We'll find out. It is the Bill Press Show on a Monday, October 19. Good to see you today. Thank you for being with us as we track the politics of the day and the news of the day on every front, everywhere on the planet. Here in Washington, D.C., around the country, and around the globe. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, here with you on your local progressive talk radio station. Good to see you in Radioland today. Here with you on Free Speech TV and worldwide on our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV. The team up in place, ready for another hard week of broadcasting. Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson.
Hello, Bill.
It's hard work getting up as early as we do, you know?
It is hard work.
Yeah.
Better than digging ditches, though.
It is better than digging ditches. Although I never dug a ditch, so I don't know.
That's a good point. I'm far too fragile to dig ditches. So,
Ray Rogers here. She's on the phones for your calls at 866-55-PRESS, and Cyprian Bolding is on the job as our videographer, again, with the cameras and the lights on. And we welcome back to the studio to take a look at the political mess of the day. The news of the day. Rebecca Berg,
Thanks,
national
Bill.
political reporter for Real Clear Politics. Hi, Rebecca.
Good
nice
to
to
be
see you.
here again. Thanks.
Right. Thank you. Have you been out on the road?
I
since
have
saw
a
you?
bit. I was at this Trump rally in Richmond last week that got a little hot.
Yeah, he had some protesters down there.
He did have some protesters.
Was that on the immigration front? I forget now.
There were immigration protesters, but then after that, the crowd was just energized to begin with and ended up getting even rowdier. There were some arguments on the side of the room happening, some people shouting black power, to which others shouted white power. before, and it got very, very dicey.
Oh, my God, yeah.
It got very dicey. And so now, as we're having this conversation about him potentially getting Secret Service protection, I can see, having been at that rally, why it might now be necessary.
Might now be necessary?
Right.
Yeah.
His crowds are so big to begin with, but when they're getting this hot and he has this sort of violent rhetoric that he uses, I could see things getting out of hand pretty quickly.
Oh, man, I'll tell you. Yes, indeed. Have you been to any Bernie Sanders rallies?
I haven't. My
No.
focus has been on the Republican side in terms of my in-person coverage,
Right.
but I would be interested to see how the two compare.
Well, Bernie's crowds are huge, and they're
They are
very
huge.
friendly crowds. Yes, and Bernie, who says catapulted to almost tying Hillary Clinton in Iowa, and ahead of her, at least I think the latest poll shows her maybe creeping up again in New Hampshire. And the star of Saturday Night Live, as portrayed by Larry David, and Larry David pointing out that, for speaking for Bernie, I'm just your average Joe.
I don't have a super PAC. I don't even have a backpack. I carry my stuff around loose in my arms like a professor, between classes. I own one pair of underwear. That's it. Some of these billionaires, they got 3-4 pairs. And I don't have a dryer. I have to put my clothes on the radiator. So who do you want as president? One of these Washington insiders? Or a guy who has one pair of clean underwear that he dries on a radiator?
I love that.
It was so well done.
It's one of the instant classic
Yeah.
SNL political impressions.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Total, right. And Bernie has since clarified that he bought a second pair of underwear last week, by the way. And then he said, that's a joke. That's a joke.
Oh, don't write that down.
Don't
That's a
write
joke.
that down. That's a joke. That's a joke.
It was so
plenty of
funny.
underwear.
And not to be overlooked, Alec Baldwin as Jim Webb, which was also pretty
He
fun.
did a great job.
Yeah. It was classic Jim Webb complaining about how much. In fact, we have the very first words out of his mouth. The first words out of his mouth, as played by Alec Baldwin.
Hello, I'm Jim Webb, and it's about damn time I get to talk. What has it been, 1,000 years? Here's the deal. I fought in Vietnam, and I'm not going to brag about how much ass I kicked, but let's just say I kicked every single ass.
And then he would finally say, do I finally get a question? I finally get a question. And then he would ask him a question. Here we go. I'll pass.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a great job. We'll take a look at the political landscape with Rebecca Berg, and then Jen Bendery. With Congress coming back, she'll tell us what we can expect, particularly out of the big Benghazi hearing this Thursday. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. We go to the West Coast bill, where over the weekend the LA Times put out... Yeah, your home coast.
I'm ready.
LA Times put out a big story about the latest trend in California is that homeowners are getting rid of their backyard pools because of the drought. It takes up too much water.
Yeah.
It's hard to maintain and all that. So they're using the drought as a reason to just say, you know what, we don't need it anymore. Now, some people will point out that when you do take out the pool and you put a lawn in the back, it could take up...
Also requires water.
as much, if not more, water to keep and maintain this lawn. But as of now, it's just, a lot of these things are just becoming dirt because they can't really put in new grass and water it constantly to get it to grow. So they're just getting rid of the pools altogether.
Fortunately, though, drought-resistant plants, succulents, very big right now, very trendy.
Yeah, there you go, right.
Good timing to change your landscaping.
No, but the problem is now California's got a problem with too much rain, as we saw in the Antelope Valley over the weekend, where, again, without the rain, there's no grass, just turns to dirt, and then when it does rain, the dirt turns to mud, and they have these mudslides. I mean, I know that highway really well. Highway 5, the idea, there were cars buried in mud.
Some of the footage of that.
It was amazing that everybody got out alive out of that. Yeah.
So Bill O'Reilly has a new book out. You know, he's made a
God.
sort of this sort of
He
franchise.
He doesn't write his books, and he doesn't read them either.
Who got killed this time?
It was Reagan.
Yeah.
His book is Killing Reagan, right? He had a book, Killing Jesus, and there was a Killing Lincoln. And now he's got a book called Killing Reagan, which, by the way, nobody killed Reagan, right? Like, they tried to kill Reagan, but nobody killed Reagan.
Does he mean killing his reputation?
Well, it's a lot about the attack on Reagan and the assassination attempt of Ronald Reagan. But here's the problem. The Washington Post took a look with 4 different presidential scholars at this book. And you're never going to believe this, Bill.
Oh, no.
Bill O'Reilly gets a lot of very basic facts wrong about Ronald Reagan. They take a look at sort of a couple of things that he puts in. There's a 2.5-page long bibliography comprised of, quote, long, questionable works inside of the book. So I'm going to tweet out a link at BP Show so you can read the Washington Post piece, find all the different problems that they found. But, it's not good.
It is so, what it says about the intelligence of the American people that Bill O'Reilly's books are number 1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
This shows we've become a nation of idiots.
And to baseball we go. Chicago, I know you're listening. I'm very sorry to report that your Cubs are down 2
No,
games.
we're coming back, man. When we get back to Wrigley Field, we're coming back.
The New York Mets are
Cubs
having an
still gonna win.
unbelievable series.
I know they
Daniel
are.
Murphy specifically last night hit another home run. That's 5 home runs in the postseason. That is a Mets record. He led the Mets to a win last night, 4-1. Again, the Mets leading that series 2-0. Today, we pick it back up with the Royals and the Blue Jays.
Boy, the Royals are on fire.
They are steamrolling the Blue Jays 2-0 right now. Basically, Blue Jays find themselves in a must-win situation tonight. That game is at 8:07 p.m. Eastern Time.
All right, Royals and the Cubs. You watch.
You're holding out hope, huh?
Yeah.
The Mets are darn good this season,
They are
though.
playing unbelievable.
I saw
I
them
know,
kick
but
our butts here in Washington.
No, that's
a
what I
few
mean.
times.
So after what they did to the Nats, I'll never forgive them.
I know.
Right.
I know. I'm with you.
Well, Rebecca, let's start out with Donald Trump because he's made, of course, he was sort of quiet for a while. Everybody thought, oh, Donald Trump is just going to sleep and going to go away. But no. He came back in 2 big ways. Before we get to the September 11 brouhaha, he learned from CNBC, who are the host of the next debate, October 28 in Boulder, Colorado, of all places, that...
right, a Republican stronghold, to be sure.
Yeah, exactly, right, yeah. The New York Times has a great article this morning about the preparations for the debate out in Boulder, Colorado. I just have to read you the first sentence. In this mountainside city of yoga studios, tech startups, and Buddhist-infected cafes and bookstores, people are more likely to spot a wandering black bear than an elected Republican.
That's a great lead.
That is Boulder, Colorado. That's where the next debate is being held.
It's true.
I've never been in a Buddhist-influenced coffee bar.
No,
Neither have I. I'm not sure I want to go in one.
Yeah, right?
It will be interesting to see which Republicans partake while they're in Colorado, too.
Right. So at any rate, Donald Trump was told, okay, well, the rules for this debate are... Whoa. That Trump, man, he's everywhere. No opening statements, no closing statements, and it's going to last for 3 hours. And Donald Trump said, oh, yeah, forget about it. I ain't showing up. I am not showing up. And CNBC panicked. And here's why he said he didn't want to show up. He told Greta Van Susteren on Friday.
Now they want to make this an extra hour, and I think it's unfair to the viewers because it's too much to watch, and they're doing it because they want to make more money.
Yeah. So he said, I'm not showing up, and CNBC folded.
Of course they did, because you can't have a debate without Trump. As he says, his ratings are huge.
Yeah, right.
And they are.
So there will be opening statements, there will be closing statements, and it's only going to be 2 hours. Right.
Which is actually pretty merciful for the reporters as well. That last one was a marathon.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that 3-hour debate, I'm sorry, that was just too much. The thing about Trump is, I mean, he's clearly been a successful guy at a lot of different things, but let's not forget that one of the things he was really successful at was making compelling television. The Apprentice wasn't my kind of show, but like... It was highly rated show, and he was the driving force behind it. He knows how to make TV that people want to watch.
And 3 hours is too long. Everybody agrees that CNN debate was
pretty long. Although I would argue that opening and closing statements maybe not very useful for anyone but the candidates.
Yeah.
But they deserve that one shot, I think, where they're not being badgered by a moderator. They just have a chance to say, here's who I am, and they, I think it's a little test for them, right? They've got a minute, whatever, minute and a half, 2 minutes, whatever it is. But it's up to them what they talk about.
Give us your pitch.
Give us your best. Give us your best shot.
And you could either go the route of someone like
Lincoln Chafee,
right, and just sort of wander your way through it, or you could go Hillary Clinton, that's a little more biographical, or you could just go to Bernie, where you just ratchet it up to 10 and start railing on the banks.
All right. So at this next debate on October 28th, how many candidates are going to be on stage?
Good question.
There are 15
now the
still
threshold.
left. There's still 15 left. With Scott Walker and Rick Perry out.
Right. And I recall the threshold for this debate is going to be 3% in the polls for the candidates to make it on stage, unless they have changed it within the past few days. But I believe it's 3%. And so then you have candidates like Chris Christie suddenly struggling to get on stage, Rand Paul suddenly on the bubble to get in the debate. So we could have significantly fewer candidates on stage than we saw last time, because you have this whole grouping of guys who are at 1% and 2%.
Right. And it does sound like there'll be maybe just one debate this time, not two.
Right. I think because of that new threshold that they set, there's not going to be an undercard debate this time.
Now, then the other way Donald Trump has made a lot of news this week, of course, is he raised the ugly issue that Republicans nor Democrats have ever raised before, which is, in effect, blaming George W. Bush for September 11. He did it on Bloomberg News, and yesterday on Fox News Sunday, he doubled down with Chris Wallace.
Now, am I trying to blame him? I'm not blaming anybody. But the World Trade Center came down. So when he said we were safe, that's not safe. We lost 3,000 people. It was one of the greatest, probably the greatest catastrophe ever in this country.
And it happened on his watch. Fair or not fair?
Well, there's an argument to be made, actually, that it is fair. Obviously, George W. Bush was getting the warnings from the intelligence community that al-Qaeda was planning something. They didn't have the level of specificity that it was going to be that day, that place, but they knew something was going to be coming. So I think that's probably what Donald Trump is getting at.
Aircraft.
Exactly. So they had some specifics. They knew to expect this, but they weren't really taking any steps to prevent it. And I think that's what Donald Trump is getting at. And I don't think, actually, that you're going to see many Americans disagree with him. I think of his controversial statements, and he has quite a body of work at this point, this will be one of the less controversial ones.
I'm just looking for the exact wording of that, because we talked about it a couple of times this morning, of the exact wording of that intelligence briefing. But it was close to exactly what happened. Peter, if you have a chance while we're talking, you might.
Bin Laden determined to strike in U.S. was the title of the briefing. That was
that's it. Yeah,
was the
Bin Laden determined to strike in U.S. and underneath it talked about he was doing so by hijacking airplanes.
This lead up was very well documented in Peter Baker's great book, Days of Fire, about the Bush administration and Bush and Cheney. And they were certainly discussing this, but they weren't able to come to any agreement within the administration about what to do.
So is raising this going to hurt Donald Trump?
I don't think it will. Absolutely not. I think his supporters
hurt Jeb Bush.
One of the Bushes.
Yeah.
Jeb Bush has definitely committed to this strategy of supporting his brother on foreign policy and supporting his family in general. And I think that becomes more dangerous for him as he is a weaker candidate, because then that's really all he has at this point is the strength of his family name. If he were a front runner, if he were a stronger candidate who had solidly differentiated himself from his family legacy on a number of issues, that would be one thing. But based on his polling right now, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that he has really cemented his message with people outside of his name.
All right, Rebecca Berg with us on 2016 and the political landscape. Is there still room for another candidate named Joe on the Democratic side? We'll be right back. Your questions at 866-55-PRESS.
Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. nicely done. I want you to just smush the berry.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan, big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, Jen Bendery coming up from Huffington Post right now here with Rebecca Berg at 27 minutes after the hour. Just about a minute, Rebecca. Joe Biden says over the weekend, in effect, don't count me out. I'm still thinking about it.
And right now, still thinking about it basically means, in my estimation, that his campaign is taking the time they need to get their things in order to get the campaign ready to launch. I see him running.
You do?
I do. Absolutely. Whoa. If he weren't running, he would know by now. And he would have told the Democrats he wouldn't want to drag this out. He's dragging this out because he is running and he just needs time to get everything ready to go.
He's no longer just teasing, you don't think? I mean, or just no.
In my opinion, based on what we have seen from him, I think this is happening.
All right. You've gone that far. So when's he going to announce?
the conventional wisdom out there is that he will want to participate in the big dinner in Iowa. The which one? Jefferson Jackson. Thank you. The JJ dinner, and so that's the event he needs to announce.
All right, you heard it here first from Rebecca Berg. Joe is running. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thanks, Bill.
Back to Jim
This
Bendery.
is the Bill Press Show.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Before now, it's been difficult for criminals like us to know which states have loose gun laws. How would a criminal like me know which states permit me to carry loaded guns in their amusement parks, golf courses, or beaches?
I have some violent friends. We all wear leather jackets and scream at women. And we want to find out which states we can buy and sell guns easily.
CrimAdvisor.com. That's the site to find out where it's easiest for felons and fugitives to buy, carry, and even traffic guns.
That's why I love Arizona, where I can go see the beautiful Grand Canyon and carry a loaded gun without even having to get a background check.
You would fail that background check.
I'm sure of it. Now, what about a road trip? What states can I go to fill my trunk with guns and take it back home for my even more dangerous friends?
CrimAdvisor has a list for that.
That's so unreasonable.
Our traffickers' top 10.
Nevada. What happens in Vegas may have to stay in Vegas, but your guns don't. Bring them over to California and sell them.
The market up there is hungry for guns.
I understand that CrimAdvisor.com will tell me which states really cater to us criminals and creeps, but what about the states where we're not so welcome? The ones that don't get us?
I don't even like saying the name of these states, but California, Connecticut, Maryland, and New York all have laws to keep guns out of the hands of people like us.
I want to shoot California so bad.
Boo, California.
Boo, go home. Wow. CrimAdvisor.com has all this information?
Sure does.
CrimAdvisor.com. Plan your perfect getaway. Oh, like TripAdvisor.
Oh.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies. In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
33 minutes after the hour. Here we go. Monday, October 19. Good to see you today. Thanks. All right, guys, settle down here. We're on the air.
We're professionals.
We're professionals.
Let's do this.
It is the Bill Press Show on a big Monday, and lots going on with Congress coming back into town. What can we expect out of that gang? Anything constructive at all, or any maybe just fireworks this Thursday for the big Benghazi hearing? Jen Bendery covers the Congress and the White House, too, for Huffington Post, and she joins us in studio. Jen, it's always good to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
So, you have written that Trey Gowdy coming under a little pressure here with this Benghazi hearing scheduled. The meeting of the Select Committee on Benghazi this Thursday with Secretary of State Hillary Clinton herself as the sole witness, I guess. And there have been even some Republicans critical about the work of this committee. Trey Gowdy, the chairman, had some words for them yesterday.
I have told my own Republican colleagues and friends, shut up talking about things that you don't know anything about. And unless you're on the committee, you have no idea what we've done, why we've done it, and what new facts we have found. We have found new facts, John, that have absolutely nothing to do with her.
A little thin-skinned, huh, maybe, right?
I think he's getting a little worn down at this point. This has been going on for almost a year and a half. And with Clinton coming in this week, if you've noticed in the last few weeks, there have been a lot of criticisms of the committee and its focus on Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. So I think it's hard to believe that he thinks he's doing a completely serious investigation when there have been 7 previous investigations into this.
Yes, right. And 13
yet,
total hearings, I believe.
Yeah,
or something
so
like
it's hard to believe that he is sincerely frustrated that people don't think this is a serious investigation when there have been many previous ones, and when, as I discovered last week, the few hearings, the few private witness interviews that he's going to, that this committee's doing behind closed doors, are typically the meetings with Hillary Clinton aides or people directly connected to Hillary Clinton. So I don't know. I'm not sure why he feels so beaten up over this, when if you just step back and look at what's going on, it looks like it's about Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, like his fellow Republicans don't even
it.
take it seriously anymore. When you got McCarthy, and then there was another guy
Richard Hanna from New York,
who made the reference to the fact that this is all about just going after Hillary Clinton. And then you had the whistleblower who came. I mean, the wheels have sort of come off of the bus of the Benghazi hearings. So, like, it's got to be a tough gig for him to go out and have to be the serious face for it all.
But it's almost like he believes that this is a solid, legit investigation, which, if you look at what they've been doing, at least that we know that they've been doing, it just the whole premise of this committee is silly because they've already done so many investigations.
Sid Blumenthal, of course, was interrogated. Huma Abedin, her former chief of staff, was Friday. Were there other Clinton aides as well who were brought in?
Cheryl Mills, who was
that's right.
Hillary Clinton's chief of staff. There were Jake Stevens. Is that his name?
I think you're right. Yeah.
Right. In total, the ones that I know of, I know there have been four people directly connected to Hillary Clinton who have been individually brought in, plus Huma Abedin last week. So that's at least 5. And I know that there have been 53, now there's been 54 closed-door witness interviews for this investigation. And of those 54, Trey Gowdy has been to about 8 or 9 of them. And of those 8 or 9, at least 4 are Clinton people. So he's not going to the bulk of these private witness interviews, and the ones he is going to, it's just largely Clinton people.
Right. Ignore that. If our listeners or viewers can hear the noise, ignore it. There's some construction going on in the building.
Yeah, Peter had chili last night. So.
So, is it, first of all, I want to come back to what you said about the need for this select committee. This committee was appointed after Darrell Issa had already beaten this horse to death, just about, right, with his Oversight Committee.
Yes.
So what was the need for a select committee on Benghazi?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, the Republicans argue that they need to launch another more thorough investigation of the Benghazi act.
And there was also a
attack.
Senate hearing, Senate Intelligence Committee, right, which
Well,
basically...
there's been private hearings, like the intelligence committees have their own intel that they have access to on these kinds of things.
Right. And
there's
then-
also an Armed Services investigation into this.
Armed Services Committee hearing.
In the House.
Yeah.
And I know that the chairman was not happy about the fact that they did all their work, put out a report on it, didn't find much of anything, felt like they had done a solid job with the report at the end, and then Speaker Boehner went and created a new committee specifically to look at Benghazi.
Is it possible that Trey Gowdy was used by Boehner to believing that he was coming in giving a serious responsibility when in effect he was just being put in charge of a political witch hunt?
It's possible, but it's if you just look at the data on this, just look at the numbers on this, it's hard to believe that anybody would think this was a purely legitimate committee after they had done seven other investigations into it. And they've spent, by the way, $4.5 million on this one committee.
On the select committee?
Yes, $4.5 million so far in this 1.5 year long investigation that other people have already investigated and found not much of anything in. I mean, so it's just, there's so many parts to this that just make it seem like the whole thing is a sham.
So why don't they just pull the plug? They're too far into it.
Well, they're getting Hillary Clinton in this week, so maybe that's the peak. Maybe soon after this week.
This is their white whale, right?
They'll be like, we got Hillary Clinton in, and they'll give her a hard time, and I don't know, who are they going to bring in after Hillary Clinton that could make, if they are after Hillary Clinton in this committee, where can they go from that? So my guess is this will end sometime around the election.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
conveniently.
Election meaning there's still a year away.
Yeah.
Right. And so Kevin McCarthy, they were kind of rolling along, but Kevin McCarthy really, that was the death blow, wasn't it? When Kevin McCarthy said, look at what we did. Hillary Clinton's numbers were up in the polls. Then we appointed this, I'm paraphrasing, but very close. Then we appointed this select committee, and look what's happening now. Her poll numbers are down. Mission accomplished.
I mean,
right?
I don't think Democrats could have
it.
asked for a better sign of proof that they are right, that this is a witch hunt, because Kevin McCarthy is the House Majority Leader, so he's in charge, and he went on TV and was very candid about things, and so he just said what's going on, and then he got in a lot of trouble for that. So, yeah, I think Democrats have been celebrating ever since he said that. In fact, Hillary Clinton used that in one of her campaign ads.
Yes. Yeah.
As proof that they're going after her.
And she referenced it in the debate as well. Yeah, he committed a gaffe, which, as Michael Kinsley has famously said, a gaffe in Washington is telling the truth.
Mm-hmm. But then you had Richard Hanna, the congressman from New York, Republican, who said the same thing last week. And this was in the aftermath of Kevin McCarthy. So everybody saw what Kevin McCarthy said and freaked out, and Republicans said, no, he didn't really mean that. Kevin McCarthy's like, kind of didn't really mean that. 2 weeks go by, and then another Republican congressman says basically the same thing, without any hesitation.
But the pattern for this committee seems to be, like last week, Trey Gowdy said, we have looked at the emails and we find out that there was classified material in these emails or something. And Elijah Cummings, the ranking Democrat, I think it was just yesterday, points out, no, in fact, Gowdy was wrong. So, I mean, there's been a pattern of this. We discovered this, and then it turns out, well, no, they didn't.
And I saw something about Trey Gowdy being accused of going through some of these documents and blacking out names of people to make it look like something sketchy had been released, when in fact the intelligence agencies or the State Department, whoever provided those documents to the committee, saw that and said, whoa, we didn't do that. Like, you did that. So you're redacting things yourself that makes it look like something confidential was leaked. But actually, in the originals that we gave you, it's not redacted. So if that's true, that's sketchy. I mean, that's like manipulating the materials they have to make it look like something other than what is true.
Right.
That's like a different level of this to me.
So you're I guess what happens, overall, it seems to me what you've got is taxpayer dollars used for purely a political witch hunt or exercise, whatever you want to call it.
That's what Democrats would argue, yes.
Right. And there's nothing anybody can do about it, right? Other than elect a new speaker or elect a new democratically controlled House.
I suppose there could be public pressure, to shut down the committee.
Yeah.
But, then again, how many people outside the Beltway are really focused on a House Select Committee on Benghazi and what they're doing today,
Right. Right.
I mean, they'll get a lot of play on Thursday when Hillary Clinton comes in. But beyond that,
that's right.
I don't know where they go from there.
My bet is that they'll get a lot of play, and the committee will end up looking worse, and she'll end up looking better, and then maybe they'll just fold their tent after that. But speaking of a new speaker, maybe we'll see that vote this week. Paul Ryan's coming back from Wisconsin. What is he going to tell everybody? Jen Bendery, she may know. We'll find out when we come back. 866-55-PRESS. You have a comment on the Benghazi committee or Hillary Clinton or Paul Ryan. We'll be right back.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Hey, Free Speech TV world, it's Mama and the Mooks here at the Stephanie Miller Show.
Hello.
Good morning.
You know, the Seinfeld was about nothing. I think the Stephanie Miller Show is about everything.
A little bit
everything. Yeah, a little bit.
It's kind of everything like thrown into a blender and we hit frappe.
Right.
With wine poured in.
Right. Senators, fart jokes, politics, pop culture, entertainment.
Drinking.
Random stray thoughts. It's what all the hip kids are talking about.
Yep.
We have the smartest, funniest people in the country on this show, do we not?
We absolutely do.
Right?
And our sexy liberal army of callers calling every day to tell us all about it.
There you go. And some right-wingers that Travis particularly enjoys talking to.
They're my favorites.
Okay. You can watch us every weekday from 9 to noon Eastern or 6 to 9 Pacific, which is really early. But we still, we try to, we're still pulling in people like Rob Reiner, Lily Tomlin, Frangela, you name it. You can only get it here at the Stephanie Miller Show. Mama, Mooks, fancy celebrities.
And everything.
And fart jokes.
Free Speech TV.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
12 minutes before the top of the hour, Monday, October 19. Jennifer Bendery from Huffington Post, HuffingtonPost.com. Of course. What do you think Paul Ryan's going to do? Do we have any indication?
Well, all signs suggest he is not interested in the job.
Still?
He's answered no about 50 different ways. Or, that's all I've got today, folks. I mean, he'll just brush off the question or just say no. And it's been, 2 weeks since the meltdown?
Well, at least 10. Yeah. So it was all last week that he was in Janesville, Wisconsin, right. And it was maybe a week and a half. Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't see any real benefit to him doing it unless he feels that strongly about saving his party. But, I think he has long-term aspirations, maybe in the White House and being House Speaker for this particular group of House Republicans. That just doesn't seem like something that would be a really nice stepping stool to getting higher because they're just too
not the
rowdy.
Right launching pad, right? Almost doomed to fail or to get anything done.
And he does say he's got little kids at home and he doesn't want to miss out on all that, which kind of sounds like a cop-out.
Of course it's a cop-out.
But
he wants to spend more time
But he does
with
say
family.
that. I mean, he has been saying that all along, but then again, he did run for vice president, and that's pretty time-consuming. So, I don't know. I don't think he's into it. I think if he does take it, it will be because the pressure is just too much, but not because he's like, yeah, this is a really good move for me.
Okay. Well, so I did see something this morning that said he was open to running, but who knows what that was based on. But let's say he comes back and says, no, I'm chair of Ways and Means. For all those reasons, whatever the reasons are, real or not, he takes his name out of the running. Is there any plan B? Is there any candidate it looks like they could pull it together?
There's no front runner. There's a bunch of people who are waiting on the sidelines
Daniel
for Paul
Webster,
Ryan to say he's not going to do it.
Jason Chavez, right?
But then there's other random people now popping up. I think Lynn Westmoreland maybe is one of them. You've got some other people
You mean people who have not announced yet?
They're sort of hinting at it now.
Yeah.
Daryl Issa suggested maybe he would do it.
Surprise.
I mean, if it's an open race, I mean, anybody can do it.
Sure.
I mean, literally anybody. You don't even have to be a House member. The three of us could say we're running for House Speaker. Anybody can do it. Bill, I think you'd be a great speaker for the House Republicans.
Yeah. But it would have to be a Republican.
Yeah. I mean... you would think.
Let me ask you this. Is there a Republican who would or could get Democratic votes and with some Republican votes and be a bipartisan candidate?
Yeah, I think so. Nancy Pelosi said this weekend.
Tom Cole, for example?
Yeah. Tom Cole, though, is a Boehner guy. So it would be basically the status quo.
But Democrats like him. I mean, he's known as a fair guy.
He is a fair guy. He's institutionalist. He's been there for a while. Democrats, I think, could conceivably help to elect the next speaker, but they also have an interest in not helping and just watching the Republicans collapse under their own weight.
Yeah.
And just sitting back, and electing Nancy Pelosi to be the speaker again. Right. So
now, other than this internal politics, there are some substantive issues awaiting their attention as well, like the debt ceiling. I keep losing track of the date.
November 3rd.
Yeah, it moves around, but the latest from Treasury is November 3rd. That's not so far away. And here we go again with the possibility of another government shutdown. I know that is music to your ears because it's so much fun to write about, but what's going to happen?
Well, that wouldn't lead to a government shutdown. That would lead to our credit rating tanking.
Yeah. Well, but I mean,
globally, and maybe markets crashing.
If they refuse to approve the debt ceiling, or I guess with the budget, right?
Well, when it's connected to the budget, then the government would shut down. But in this case, we just passed. It's separate. Okay. It's usually separate. But in the past, it has been connected. This time, it's just to raise the debt ceiling. There would be no government shutdown. There would just be mass economic turmoil because the markets would crash and it would affect other countries' markets if we didn't raise the ceiling by November 3rd. I have a feeling that not nobody, that the majority of people in Congress don't want to do that again because of what happened last time. But and you've got Boehner, he's still speaker, okay, and he doesn't want that to happen on his watch. And Obama already said there is no negotiating on this. Republicans are not allowed to tie any controversial policy riders about abortion or gay issues or something to this. Just a straight up vote, raise the debt ceiling. That's all we're going to do. So I think they'll get it done this time. They burned themselves the last time they didn't do it. Mm-hmm. And technically the last time they did it, they voted to lift it like literally the day before it was going to run out of money. Right. So they technically didn't default, but it got so close to defaulting that it affected the markets anyway.
And
it's delicate.
I bet you the same thing happens this time. They'll probably do it, but it'll probably be midnight of the day before.
You would hope that they don't do it the day before, because that has an effect on markets, and that's the problem. You don't want to tank all the markets.
All right, Jen, great to see you today. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Keep up with these rascals down there. Let us know what's going on, and I'll come back with a parting shot.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is The Bill Press Show.
Well, if you thought the chances of Joe Biden running for president were over, think again. Over the weekend, people close to him said he's still thinking about it and making calls about it. Now, I hate to say this, but as a native son of Delaware before California adopted me, as president of the Joe Biden fan club, as somebody who believes Joe Biden brings more experience to the table and would make a better president than anybody else running. I still hate to say this, but I think the window for him to run has closed. He said he'd make a decision last summer, and he didn't. For a while, Hillary looked weak, but she looks a lot stronger after last week's debate. The problem is Joe Biden just waited too long. The train has left the station. He's not on it. Now he's just going to have to settle for being one of our best vice presidents ever, and that's not too bad. Hey, that's it for today, folks. Come back and see us again tomorrow. We'll be looking for you.
This is the Bill Press Show.